Welcome to the Star. This is Big 12 Media Days. Colby Powell and John Hoover with you. Day one of Big 12 Media Days was headlined by the Oklahoma Sooners and Lincoln Riley. And Coach Lincoln Riley sounded confident. And John, one of the big things that he talked about it being an X factor for his team, was leadership. A lot of big names no longer on this roster who were here a year ago. So how does Oklahoma adapt to that and overcome this season?
Yeah, imagine losing Baker Mayfield, one of the greatest leaders that college football's ever had. You lose Orlando Brown, whose father played in the NFL and was a great leader. Mark Andrews, he's not just a great player, he's a great leader. Obo Okoronkwo, I mean, think of the effort that he had in the Texas game last year. They lose all those guys and a lot more. They lost additional positions throughout the offense, throughout the defense. But Lincoln Riley today talked about Rodney Anderson being one of those guys who's a potential replacement in terms of leadership. And he leads by example a lot. He's not a very talkative guy, but he leads by example. He also talked about Kenneth Murray, the middle linebacker, sophomore, but he's got a ton of experience from last year. He's here at Media Days. These are signs of leadership. Lincoln Riley also talked about the entire offensive line, guys who have a career 102 starts under their belt. I mean, this is important. When you talk about Bobby Evans, you talk about Drew Samia. He even mentioned Jonathan Alvarez and certainly Ben Powers, who was here at Media Day as well. He thinks the Sooners have good leadership potential, but he wants to see them reach that potential.
Yeah, most definitely. And you mentioned Kenneth Murray. He was here, came on with us today, and Kenneth Murray sounded really confident. Said the guys up front on the defensive line are going to protect him, and that he learned a lot from his freshman season whenever he made some mistakes. And there were some things that he could certainly grow on from that freshman year. And then Rodney Anderson as well, he looked engaged and confident and like he was happy to be here.
Very animated, very expressive with his, and we've talked to Rodney Anderson in the media before. Okay, we've talked to him, we've interviewed him, but he was on a new level today in terms of just engaging with reporters and laughing with them and using his hands to talk, and he was doing a lot of this. Very easy to notice how relaxed he is right now.
Yeah, most definitely. That was the Sooners who headlined day one, but also today, Gary Patterson, who joined us this morning whenever we had him on with Dylan. And Gary Patterson, I tell you what, he was the first one in the door. He made the rounds, spent time with everybody, seemed like he was happy to be here. This was not staunch Gary Patterson that you think of. This guy was in a good mood. He was happy to be here, and he was engaged and really insightful all day long.
Gary Patterson is one of the most tightly wound coaches in the Big 12 Conference, and I think he would agree with that. It's not just his shoes that are wound tight. It's Gary Patterson himself. Today he walked in and he said, I love it here. I love being with you guys. Oh, by the way, this is the only day you'll get me. From this point forward, he's Coach P. Today he walked in and he said, today you get Gary. From this point on, you get Coach P. So he is another guy. I mean, we're going to say the word a lot, confident and relaxed. But that's not always Gary Patterson. I think he's got something up his sleeve.
Yeah, he very well might. Whenever you doubt TCU, be careful. Doubt TCU at your own risk, certainly. Another team, kind of the darlings of the Big 12 last year were Iowa State, and Matt Campbell was here today. And Matt Campbell, he's a young coach. He's kind of a hot commodity at Iowa State. He's making a ton of money for Ames. He's making $3.5 million in Ames, which is, like $10 million anywhere else. So Matt Campbell today sat down with us for a little bit, and he had some really good things to say. He, more so than other guys, has some players he's confident in coming back. A lot of other teams have a lot of unknown. Matt Campbell has a lot of guys coming back, and he's really confident in Kyle Kemp, David Montgomery, and a lot of those other guys that they can replicate and try to build on the success that they had a year ago.
No doubt. I asked him halfway in jest, how do you replace one of the greatest leaders in college football history, Joel Lanning? He really was the heart and soul of that program, and what he said was, when a guy like Joel Lanning leaves, we have to find out ways to replace that leadership, that ability, that attitude that other guys congregated to him as a leader. And he said now they've seen the example. He said that's how you build a program. So we're hoping that we built a program, is what Matt Campbell said today.
Yeah, no doubt. And then we were unable to catch up with David Beatty of Kansas, but Cliff Kingsbury did join us. And Cliff today, seemed like he was in a better mood. It seemed like maybe he was a dead man walking last year before they beat Texas in the last week of the season. And that kind of turned things around for Texas Tech. But Cliff today, I thought, was in a pretty good mood. He was down here. He was, prettiest guy in the room as always. And I thought he had a good day.
Second prettiest.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Here's the crazy thing about Texas Tech. 10 starters back on defense, and I think the number is 2 on offense. And you ask Cliff Kingsbury that, and we're like, Cliff, what do you think about this defense? Is this the defense? This defense going to be what Texas Tech leans on? And he says, let's take a step back and assess that for a minute. He's not that confident in the defense. He's not throwing it out there like they're going to dominate Big 12 play. But surely with Dakota, Allen, and guys like that, they've got a lot of returning experience back. 3 players on the first team All Big 12 defensive team. So Texas Tech, Cliff Kingsbury, very confident about their defense.
Yeah, it was a great first day from Big 12 Media Days. Tomorrow, it'll be just as good. We've got Mike Gundy and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Also, Bill Snyder will be here, maybe for the last time as a Kansas State Wildcat. You just never know. West Virginia, one of the favorites in the league this year tomorrow, as well as Baylor. And Tom Herman will be here with Texas. Should be another great day at Big 12 Media Days. For John Hoover, I am Colby Powell. We appreciate you joining us. We'll be back tomorrow, day 2, Big 12 Media Days.